Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to the ECM Podcast. I'm Caroline Fontagneux, and I'm very happy to host this series that will take you behind the scenes of new music on ECM Records. In this 9th episode, I'm meeting legend guitar hero John Scofield to talk about his first ever solo album. For this interview, we met in his lovely home upstate New York, where he lives with his wife Susan and their dog Gunner. We talked about his solo work, his inspirations, life in lockdown, and how to stay fresh. First of all, I asked John the memories he's keeping from the time he recorded this album.
Well, you know, this record was different because I recorded it during the pandemic because I was at home. Yeah. And I don't know if I would have made a solo record without being quarantined at home with everybody was, right? And so it was special, and I have a memory of being upstairs in my little studio, you know, playing the guitar. And I never had a recording set up before, so I went after a couple of months. Well, I'm going to be home a lot, and I bought some stuff so that I could record my electric guitar at home. Yeah. And it was nice to be able to do it on my own time, you know, when I felt like playing.
Were you, okay, I'm going to record a solo album now, or you just like started recording things and then be like, whatever will happen? Like, what was
a little bit like that. I mean, because I had unlimited time, so I thought, well, I'll just do some tracks and I'll see if I like them. Yeah. And then, so every day for a week, I recorded a bunch of songs. And then at the end of like 7 days, I had, you know, like 100 hours of music or something. It was crazy. Yeah. It was like way too much to listen to. I had a list of songs that I thought could work as a program, because I always think like that. I make up sets to play live. I make up album programs. And so I'm always thinking about variety and what would be a good program. So I had this list of tunes. It wasn't like everyone's going to be the same type of tune. You don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. But then I just played this long list. I mean, I had a list of like 30 tunes or something. And I did each one every day, and then I had way too much to listen to, so I had to take a month off and go back, because I couldn't even tell if it was any good, you know. So then I went back after a month and listened to it and said, okay, this could work together, and I had more perspective. And
so then, you had the list?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that was still a project already. That was not something that you were just like playing around with just to time.
At first, I was seeing how the equipment worked, you know, and I wasn't even saying this is going to be a record. Then I suppose I was saying this could be a record, but because it was in my own house, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to put anything out. Yeah. And then like I said, I recorded for like a week. And then I had too much music to listen to, and then I waited a month, and then I went back and listened and said, okay, this works. And then I said, I think this could be a record. And then I sent it to an engineer, Tyler McDermott, who sort of spruced it up enough, you know, not a whole lot really, but he did what engineers do. And then I sent it to Manfred Eicher to see if there was any interest, and he liked it.
So this room was not a recording room.
No. But here's the thing. The thing is, I didn't have to use a microphone because of technology now. There's a thing called the Universal Audio aux. And this allows you to get the sound of your guitar amp
directly to the computer.
Directly to the computer, but it's not like a direct recording, like we have in recording studios. It models the sound. It takes the actual sound of your guitar going through an amplifier, and then it models the sound of a speaker and a microphone, which is like AI or something. It's some magic sort of computer thing that they've gotten really good, and I loved the way it sounded.
So you didn't even have to
engineer. No, because I don't even know how to do mic placement. I don't have great microphones. I couldn't have done this record a couple of years ago, you know.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But, you know, for me to be home for a year and a half without going on tour was really different. And because I've been on tour like half the year since 1975,
at least,
at least. And so to be home with Susan and to be in our town and, you know, walk my dog and just be here and have this kind of normal life was different. And I liked it too.
You liked it?
Yeah.
Is it hard to go back to a touring schedule now after this hiatus?
Well, I like being here, but I love playing music and my life in music. So going back was, you know, I'm excited to play again. You know, traveling is the hard part. You know, it's not so much fun to always get from point A to point B. I'm tired of that.
Early lobby calls.
And an early lobby call, and you're playing late at night, and it's exhausting. So, you know, that part is getting a little more difficult as I get older. But it's the only way to do it, you know.
Can you tell me about the looping, you know, system that you're using, and how did you get to this, and is it fun?
Looping is so much fun. It's a gizmo, you know, and it's what it is a recording device that they made for guitar players. And I got this like 20 years ago, and it was one of the first ones that could do this.
So that was not for the
boomerang. I didn't get it. No. I got it years ago to play with a band that I put together in a project called Uber Jam, where there were a lot of electronic sounds, and there were, you know, Avi Bortnick making all these crazy, you know, sounds with his laptop, and I would add to that and use this boomerang looper as an effect, not as a thing to play along with. But I've had it in my house and in my rig for years, and I've gotten somewhat adept at it. And what it is because it's the early model, I can't store loops. I can only make one, and then the next time you make a loop, the one you just made goes away.
But you still can record what you're playing.
I can record it once,
save
but I can't save it. And so, I mean, you can, as long as you don't make another loop, it'll stay there, I think, until it gets unplugged. Once it's unplugged, though, you lose. But that's okay, because I use it in this kind of, it's more, I guess, you know, in the moment, which is what we want it to be. I've never really wanted to just play solo guitar, you know. Piano is different because you can really be a band. You can be this, the left hand can be this grooving rhythm section, and then the right hand blows over it. But with a guitar, you kind of have to be the grooving rhythm section, then stop and blow over it. And there's, you can do it, but to me, it's very clumsy. For kind of regular rhythmic hot jazz, you know. And when I started to play with a looper and have these little loops to play along with, I was able to really be who I am as a jazz musician, along with myself, my favorite accompanist, you know. So that's what I did for this record. For I think 3/4 of it is using a loop behind me, and then the other quarter of it is just solo guitar.
Yeah, you were saying, I was reading this morning. You were saying it's almost a duo solo.
Well, it is. It is.
Is there something intimidating in just being you and your guitar, like solo?
Well, let me tell you, it's really intimidating just being just me and my guitar with no loop, and that's what why I probably would have never have played solo guitar, but it's not really solo, and I'm getting to build a little more with the other me that's playing.
The artoscope.
And yeah, I mean it's cheating in a way, and whatever cheating is, but it's. What I didn't want to do was sound like the guy who's the busker on the street, who is there with his guitar and he makes 10 tracks of Stairway to Heaven magically in front of you, and I guess there's always going to be a small element of that, but I've tried to cover that up.
Yeah. No, it's not your kind.
Oh, good. Phew.
Do you ever compose with the loop station?
Yeah. My composing has become really just related to improvising, and I'll get an idea and record it immediately before I even know what it is, a short little phrase or a chord progression or something, and then I'll try and build on it, So recording the first idea, I have to do it really quick because I forget it right away, So having either the loop station or even my iPhone to just record something really gives me a start.
Yeah, totally. Were Trans de Jour and Elder Dance, were they composed for the album?
They're almost not compositions. They're really both of those are just spur of the moment, and Elder Dance is a blues progression.
Yeah.
And that just exists in the world, and then I kind of just played this melody that I made up completely on the spot. And the other one, Trans du Jour, is something I do. I just make these little chord progressions and then improvise freely over it. And that's what that is. And the progression is different every time. I just sort of slide my fingers around. Sometimes I don't know what I'm hitting, actually. And it's rhythmic, and that's what that is,
You said I don't like to write. I don't write for fun.
Well, it's not fun. It's work. It's way more work than sitting down and playing the guitar, which is a joy for me. But when I write, it's work because I feel like it's never good enough. But if you put in the time, eventually you'll get something. And then I think writing an okay piece of music is the big reward, really, more than just hot solos and all. And so it's I think it's like that for but being a jazz musician, I don't compose all the time, although I love composition, I'm also always honing the craft of improvising and playing the guitar and doing what I do, which is outside of real composition. So I have to discipline myself to compose. I have to say, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm put in the time, it sucks, but that's okay. Tomorrow something else will happen. And then, hey, that's okay, but it might have taken hours to get to that.
Why do you say it's never good enough?
Because I'm critical, and...
Still now?
Yeah. I mean, after the fact, I can say something, that one came out pretty good. But I always compose, for every song that's any good, I think I've made, 5 attempts at and I think a lot of composers are like that,
Yeah.
And I have to be critical. I say it's no good, but I don't really mean that. I'm hoping to write a good song, But I have to be critical. We all have to be critical, because then, you don't want to jinx it. You don't want to say, oh, this is good, ever. because you want to just keep working because,
But are you ever satisfied when the work is done? When something
Yeah,
is
sometimes, but I can't think about it too much.
It's a good thing to be critical, but at the same time, I think it feel maybe that it's important to be able to get satisfied with what you've done, and just
it's a dangerous road to listen back to your work and feel good about it.
You never do that?
I do that, and that's taking time away from learning about music. And what I need to do is to learn about music and study music, and that's when the craft is really exciting, and when I'm coming up with ideas and when I'm advancing. And sitting around and listening to old stuff, which I do sometimes,
I will tell you.
But don't tell anybody. And then lately, as an older person, I'm accepting of stuff that I used to think I didn't like that.
How do you keep learning? Do you listen to other people?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
read books?
No, I listen to other music and I'm inspired by the great music that exists in history.
Yeah.
And that's jazz performances and other stuff too, pretty much jazz. And then I just sit down and think about the music, and it comes out on the guitar. And I think about the geometry, or the makeup of music, whatever it is, and how these things go together, and try different little things. And a lot of the stuff that I practice and I'm working on is stuff that I've been working on the whole time, and you just keep going back and little mysteries unveiling stuff. It's just interesting. I'm still interested in music, thank goodness.
And technically, physically...
I keep trying to get better, and I'm not sure if I am technically getting better because I'm getting older, so...
It means better.
What?
Older means better.
Older means better, but don't tell that to a basketball player or a tennis player, But I know this, that I'm not at the point where I feel like my abilities have diminished. Thank goodness, because I have some other friends who are a little older than me who have told me that, wow, I can't really play like I used to. It's just physically, for some reason,
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about professional basketball player, but it's definitely like high level. Sport. It's the same. You need to take care of your body. You need to make sure you're getting enough sleep.
It's really true, and it's so related to.
Yeah. You mentioned that you had this list of songs. How did you choose them? Were they because they were good for the solo setting?
Yeah, well, first of all, they have to be good for the solo setting. And then I chose them, I could have made a record of all jazz standards, which maybe I'll do someday, but I wanted to have more variety on my first, maybe my only ever solo record. And there was a lot of other stuff I could get into. So I was looking for some sort of diversity in the list. I guess I always am. The thing that's nice about playing solo is when you're in a band, the great thing about it is that you're playing with other people. But sometimes those other people don't like one kind of music as much as you do. Right. Or they like some other thing that you like, but they like it way more than you do, So we come up with this consensus, even when it's my band. We have to all love every song, really, for it to be okay.
So do you ask them?
And I can just tell, Yeah. And so then stuff gets ruled out. But when it's just me, I can cover everything, you know. And so I got to play, you know, a Buddy Holly tune and you know, I can't remember what I made on the record now, but some standards and my own tunes I got to revisit, and I got to play some kind of free-ish stuff. And,
that's more free. That's definitely independent. But there's something that feels really autobiographical. I mean, an album kind of always is, but here, you know, like the waltz for Susan, your wife, the Junko partner that you played with Dr. John, There Will Never Be Another You from Chet Baker, and Mulligan Choral that you learned from Burton. Does the solo allows something a little bit more pushed in this direction?
Well, I think anybody's solo record is completely personal. That's all it is, you know.
Yeah, of course, but personal doesn't have to mean autobiographical in a way, you know.
Yeah. Well, my life is pretty mainstream, and the music is the good part, you know. I mean, well, my life's been great. I'm not complaining, but that's to me the interesting part is the music. And it's an autobiography, especially because of these songs. Some of them I've known for a really long time. And some of them represent learning periods, you know, for me, like meeting Gary Burton when I was 21 or whatever I was, 20, and learning his repertoire, and playing with Chet Baker or Jerry Mulligan, and playing rock and roll, you know, Buddy Holly. That's like what I started out with, the Bo Diddley beat, you know, and that's what I have, you know, inside me are those songs, you know, or whatever those songs turned into because they're vehicles for improvisation, you know, and I really like it when the song is really internalized, so I don't have to think about it, and then the good stuff can happen with the improvisation. And all these songs I could close my eyes and play. I could just play choral, you know, without having to think about it. I could play, you know, My Old Flame, you know, or whatever. You know what? I think when I play the guitar, I'm channeling 20-year-old me. Like all of us, because we're all still the same but different, you know.
Yeah.
And I never thought of it like that, but that's us, you know.
Yeah. I like that you're saying us there. Yeah. It's all the yous.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the yous. You mentioned, you know, this desire that you have to listen to other musicians and never rest in a way in the inspiration, but I want to talk about freshness, because it feels for me something that feels a little bit different than inspiration in terms of you sound always fresh, John.
Well, thank you. Because
every album feels like there's a, I don't know, freshness.
Well, thank you so much. That's a great compliment.
What's your secret?
But
those cookies from Patrice.
It's the special French cookies that I eat all day. Now you're going to make me want to stop and eat cookies. No, I'll tell you. I've gotten to play with these great musicians, you know, and all of them, all these jazz guys, are obsessed with that moment when it comes out spontaneous and you can say something that means something, and it just happens in real time, and it's not the thought out stuff. It's when you channel, you know, the stuff that's inside you, your vocabulary,
it's the
and it comes out in the trance of the day, and when I got to meet these guys from the beginning with when I met Steve Swallow and Joe Lovano, the guys I met when I was really young, that's what they were going for, and it's very nonverbal. And then the older jazz musicians, that were really good.
You were not looking for that?
No, well, I was looking for it, but I had an idea that that's what I loved in when I would hear people, and it was great. But then I met some of the older guys, and they were actually talking about techniques to get to that, and how to. And Miles used to say to us, and I can't do. He would be frowning, and then he would put his hand over his face, and then he would be smiling. He said, "You have to come back from everything that you don't like what you just played. You have to come back anyway and be in the moment." Things like that, and you don't want to play what you think you're going to play. It was something like that, and I knew what he meant, and I don't even his idea about not playing, about leaving space between things. These were techniques, just out and out techniques to how to sound good when you blow, when you improvise, and that's what I've been working on. That's what it turns out. All the good players, that's why they sound fresh. And it's a chore because you're not always going to sound fresh. You're going to have some nights, on the records, because I don't let the records come out where I do, but you're going to have some nights that are better than others, and you're trying for it, but there are nights that I don't feel fresh, but that probably means the next night's going to be pretty fresh.
Usually that's what they say in theater, at least. But have you ever felt, maybe not now, but like a few decades ago or whatever, have you ever felt like I'm done with that?
Yeah.
You have?
I've had bad nights. I still do,
No,
but we're human beings because we only have a certain amount of energy for the day.
But that's what
and
I'm
then
saying.
We have to go on, and it has to be another day.
It's so demanding, physically, emotionally.
Yeah, and the thing is, sometimes I can be really tired, and the music will be good,
Yeah.
And so you can't count on being absolutely in good shape, even though we want to try. You can't count on anything.
They can be
but you
surprising.
can let it happen when it happens.
Yeah.
And you can allow it to come through you. And then, look, we all have good nights and we all have bad nights. And sometimes, hopefully the audience can't tell when I'm having a bad night. They might look at me and say, "Oh, he looks..." But, that's the beauty of this human experience that we're trying to, that the music is it's alive and it's human, and we're stumbling over our words sometimes, but then you get to that good sentence and that made sense. That's you cool. Keep going.
Yeah, but do you feel any pressure from the expectation from
Sure. I can have bad nights, and the pressure is there. If people think I'm good, then then I actually have to come up with it, right?
Yeah, I gotta be good.
And there are enough people out there listening who actually know about the music, so there is pressure.
Yeah.
And all I can do is keep practicing, stay in shape.
Do you practice every day?
Well, sometimes, but I generally don't sound very good unless I practice.
Tell me about your relationship with the label.
Well, I haven't recorded a lot for ECM, like a lot of people have made many, many records.
There are a few,
but I met Manfred originally when I was a kid, I don't know if I told you this story, but when Gary Burton came to teach at Berkeley, I lived with a bass player and a drummer, and we had a little student apartment, where we would jam. And Gary liked us, and he came over and jammed with us all the time when I was 19, and 20 maybe. And one day, after I'd known Gary for almost a year or whatever, he said, there's this producer from Germany who's coming to Logan Airport in Boston. I can't meet him because I have to teach. Can you guys go pick him up at the airport?
So we're talking 50 years ago?
We're talking 1972.
Right. Exactly 50 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, 50 years ago. And so we picked up Manfred and brought him back to our little student hangout place where, with dirty dishes and, and, there were joints on the floor and, beer cans all over. And he hung out with us waiting for Gary to get done. I remember we played records and we met this interesting older, he was, I don't know, he was 30 or something. And and he was starting his record company. And so I actually met Manfred back then,
Does he remember that?
Yes, he says he does. And I asked him that like 20 years ago, so I don't, or more. And then I recorded with Manfred on the Bass Desires records and he was in the studio producing those records, and it did such an incredible job, And then now finally I'm getting to record for ECM. I'm very proud to be associated with a label with that kind of artistic merit, and point of view and all. Yeah.
John Scofield from Katona, New York, about his new ECM solo album. Thank you for joining, choosing, and listening to our ECM podcast. I'm Caroline Fontagneux, and I look forward to sharing more music with you in the next episode.